Again, we're doing these seminars to kind of help travel nurses out there. It's not really promotional material. It's more about what's going on in the industry and kind of to help you in general become more interested in traveling, or those who've traveled to get some more insight. Today with me is our Director of Human Resources, Linda Lee.
Hi.
And Linda's integrally involved with all travelers from many different standpoints, but one of her key functions is in charge of the housing department here. And today what we're going to cover is questions that a traveler should ask of any agency in regards to housing. Very important area. Next to a traveler's pay, housing is the second most important reason why a traveler will like their assignment. So let's just start off with, what percentage of travelers, regardless of the agency, because we're friends with a lot of different agencies that are out there, what percentage of the travelers that are out there actually take housing from the agency?
I would say about 25% of our travelers take our housing.
So it means 75% of the nurses or physical therapists or occupational therapists, the travelers that are out there, are actually taking the stipend.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think they do that?
I think they do it because they have a more flexible dealing with it. They like to find their own housing because they want to pick out certain things, be in a certain location. Oftentimes they have their own specific things that they want in their housing, where, with us, we have things that we look for. We look for things that are more local. They may look for something that may be farther away because it's in a certain location. For example, we have nurses that may want to go to, let's say, Tuba City, but they want to be in the middle between Flagstaff and Tuba City, so they might want housing right in the middle. So again, it's up to them. A lot of times people take housing stipends because they want to pocket some more money. Some nurses just want a room to rent, and oftentimes we look for something that's more fully furnished, more of a corporate type feel.
Right. And so that is the number one reason typically is that they want to, they want to take the housing stipend, and they want to get something. They can find it, they can pocket the money and find something that they like better. And that's good. We like that in particular, because that way the traveler can get exactly what they want. Have you ever seen a traveler, I don't know if you know the answer to this question, have you ever seen a traveler get something more?
Sometimes they bring their families up, so often, they might bring like their whole family they might want something like 3-bedroom. So again, it all depends on, what they are looking for.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say the key ingredients that's in your housing department? What would you say some of the key ingredients that a traveler who's traveling should make sure they make their agency aware of?
First, I would say they should ask the agency if it's private or shared housing, because some agencies offer shared housing, which isn't the optimal thing that people want.
Right.
So another question would be, do they take pets? A lot of times it becomes a difficulty for travel agencies to have pets come along just because of the area. It might be a community that isn't pet friendly. Other questions ask if it's fully furnished. Sometimes it may not include pots and pans, let's say, or linens, so you may want to bring things with you. So you should ask your agency if you should bring anything along.
Let's be clear too. Every agency is going to tell you they accept pets, every single one, and they all do. Okay. The issue becomes into play is when you have like 3 70-pound dogs. Okay, I mean I'm exaggerating to make a point, but the thing I think the thing that's important from what I've seen and what I hear is if you have something special, let your recruiter know up front. Say to them, I have 3 70-pound dogs. I just want to make you aware of this, because the agency will be able to work around you. Now there's some locations which the recruiter will be honest with you and will say, I don't think we're going to be able to help you with it. Like example would be 3 70-pound dogs in Manhattan.
That's going to be difficult because a lot of times the housing will say, what are you going to do with the dogs? Often the housing will say, we don't take animals that are unattended. So it becomes an issue. Right.
The other things that other options that we've seen travelers do. One of the things is they will go to maybe they'll ask the housing coordinator to help them find the housing, but then they'll go look at it themselves. And sometimes what we'll do too is we'll put you up in a hotel for a couple days. You go look at the housing, and then you can kind of decide at that point.
And sometimes I find that some of the travelers build a relationship with the landowner, and where they may tell us, we don't take pets, they may find a way that the owner will take the pet.
Right.
So
now, typically, I think other questions that are important to ask any agency, where are you going? Where is the housing going to be? All right, because I know for us, for example, we try to find it within 30 minutes.
Like 5 to 20 miles away.
Right. I mean, we'll typically do that. Now, as it gets closer and closer to you actually accepting the job, then we typically will actually try to send you pictures, which is a good idea. You should ask that at your agency. I mean, your agency doesn't have the housing all lined up for every single assignment. I mean, we have to go, every agency, I don't care who it is, has to actually go out and find the housing. Now, there's places that we usually work with, but it's not like we have corporate housing, which means like we own the housing. I don't care what agency you're dealing with. Nobody has their own housing. Although there are hospitals that do provide the housing, and the agency will typically tell you that. Give you an example of like some situations where hospitals will provide the housing.
For example, we have a client in Alaska, and they do their own housing because it's so hard to find housing. They own apartment complexes next to it, so that when they do offer a position, they already have it lined up.
Right, and what we usually tell our recruiters when they're talking to the travelers is to properly explain what type of housing you're going to get in all situations. In those situations where a hospital is providing, it's very common for them to have shared housing. So we want to make sure we communicate that. Sometimes it's separate rooms in the shared bathroom, sometimes it's the same room, but as long as we feel that we're communicating that properly, then the traveler can better make a decision if it's going to be good for them or not. I haven't remembered us having a problem with housing with a traveler. Have you?
No.
I mean,
again, it comes back to the questions that are asked. If you tell your recruiter that you need certain items or certain things, you should be upfront about it, because then it will help in the long run, and you know what you're expecting if you ask the right questions.
Right, and also I would say we have some travelers who they really don't care about what they get. And that's fine. We have other travelers who are extremely particular about what they want. And either they'll communicate it to us, or they'll just take the housing stipend and get what they want. So you basically, I think, have to decide, how finicky, and that's fine. We were all, I care where I live a lot. So, it really matters to me. This housing component is really important to our organization, because I think it's important for the traveler to be really happy on their assignment. So I think the most important thing we're saying here, number one, communicate your expectations to your agency. Number two, ask lots of questions. What else would you say?
Again, I would say just be upfront. You can tell the recruiter about other experiences that you've had, so that we get to know, if you want housing or not.
Yeah.
So I would say just be upfront and let your recruiter know exactly what you're looking for. Cool.
All right, good. So on behalf of Linda Lee and Steve Halasnik, we'll see you next time around on healthcareseeker.com Travel Nurse News. Thanks.